So it went super viral that apparently the Epstein files showed that Jeffrey Epstein is Zoran Mamdani's dad. Turns out his mom was all over the Epstein files. And it turns out that all of this is just fake and being shared by a whole bunch of what are probably obvious bots. Made up AI images. I mean, like, they're fucking not even trying. Bro. But when you dig into the actual files and you look at Mira Nair, his mom, and actually where she's showing up in those files, it leads you right to one of the most interesting connections in the Jeffrey Epstein story that no one talks about, no one knows about, the media doesn't report on. And I guarantee you that this rabbit hole has depths. It has dirt all over the place. It has famous people. It's got it all. And this is a rabbit hole that people need to dig into. So Mamdani's mom is showing up just because she's a director of Hollywood movies. I don't know what she makes, but like independent films, highly acclaimed, whatever. And she's on all these different invitations and correspondences about various film events. And Jeffrey Epstein's connection to this world is Peggy Segal. And if you don't know about Peggy Segal, I'm about to put you on some fucking game. This is Peggy Segal, well into her 70s. And yes, there are references to what sounds an awful lot like adrenochrome in the Epstein emails. And this is Peggy with Brett Ratner, whole other rabbit hole. There are photos of Peggy with just about every famous person alive. You know. And the reason for that is because Peggy Segal is one of the most famous and powerful publicists in the world. She's the Hollywood connector. She's the woman that throws all the parties for all the movie premieres. So when you're premiering your big Hollywood movie, you get all of the famous people to come to your premiere. And the club is like, oh, it's very important. It's very important. And that's how movies work. That's how Oscars work. That's how the awards work. That's how all of it works. It's a big club and it's run by Jews. And Peggy was Epstein's direct line of access into this entire world. And she's got some lies to answer for now that the new emails are out. So back in 2019, when the whole first Epstein story broke, Peggy got super blacklisted immediately. No one worked with her. Everyone cut her off. She whined about it. I've always suspected, and I made content about this years ago, that I think that she got blacklisted because they were scared that if people start looking at Peggy, they're going to start looking at her book of contacts, and they're going to start looking at her relationship to Jeffrey a little too closely because there's a lot there. So here's the reporting from back then and all the lies she told. Her staff described a symbiotic relationship wherein Segal would receive gifts from Epstein, including travel expenses, and that at times she kept her studio clients in the dark about how she would bring him to the party. But she insisted through a spokesperson that her financial arrangements and everything ended by 2010 when Epstein was released from prison. Peggy is known for her list. All these important people, voting members of the Academy, New York socialites, influential motherfuckers, Hamptonites, downtown crowd, media figures, the club, the fucking club. She brags that her list is 30,000 contacts long. 30,000 of the most important club members, connected elites that she'll be inviting to these parties that Jeffrey Epstein will be attending and schmoozing at. Also, early life check because it's Hollywood. But of course, if you've seen the email releases, you didn't need the early life check because you would have read her and Jeffrey talking like this. Jeffrey's hosting a Yom Kippur redemption party, asking her for advice of who to bring. She responds, is it going to be 100% Jew night? Even Perelman on Yum Yum has some goyim. I'm getting my media elite list FedExed out for Saturday and we'll email some names. What about Jane Fonda, my new best friend? Nothing like an ex-Jew hater with a Jewish boyfriend to mix it up. Peg. Huh. Who else uses the term Jew hater all the time? It's almost like all the Zionists think in the exact same way as these people. Jeffrey responded, no, goyim in abundance. JP Morgan execs, brilliant wasps. Because the dirty goyim will be at the party because you got to extort the dirty goyim. Anyways, back in the day, Peggy's assistants told The Hollywood Reporter that, quote, he was always calling her and trying to hang out with her, another former staffer explained. He wanted to go to every party. When he was in town, she made a point of inviting him to things, noting that when he wasn't, including during his house arrest in Palm Beach, Peggy would send him screeners and keep him in the loop. Peggy was his connection to the entertainment world. Consider that a massive understatement. This staffer overheard Segal talking on the phone with Epstein. Peggy is like, you're not dating anyone, right? And he's like, well, I am, but you know, she's very young. And Peggy's like, stop it, stop. Because if she's a goyim, who cares if she's young, right, Peggy? Peggy got very famous because she threw the 2011 get out of jail party for Epstein, where Prince Andrew attended, along with Katie Couric, George Stephanopoulos, Chelsea Handler. I'm pretty sure that Woody Allen was there. That was the party that fucked Andrew's career up, and then he did that really horrible interview that he just totally shit the bed on. That was before this one, where we have emails about him torturing people, maybe to death, allegedly. Yes, these people are all monsters. But Peggy thought, quote, he said he'd served his time and assured me that he'd changed his ways. Because, it's not a crime to lie to Goyim, so who fucking cares, right, Peggy? So, Peggy gets blacklisted from the whole world in 2019 when the Epstein story really kind of comes out. No one's working with her, and she's whining about it and trying to do PR pieces, but eventually she slinks off into the shadows for a long time. But she claimed that she ended her financial relationship in 2010, and she didn't really know, and she thought he was all on the up and up, and we were just friends, it was no big deal. Yeah, these emails beg to fucking differ. So, aside from lots of correspondences like this one about the Goyim, at a certain point, it looks like Peggy wanted Jeffrey's help auditing her company to make sure that all the money was straight, because there's a bunch of emails where Peggy Segal's team are sending all of her tax records and financial stuff to Jeffrey, and he's reviewing them all. And we get all this information from Brian Bantry, who runs the shell company that runs Peggy. I think it's a tax sheltering concept where he runs a parent company that owns Peggy's company, and they pay her out, and he's domiciled in the UK, not in the US. And it's weird, but it says this: all invoices for the Peggy Segal company are issued by and paid to Wagging Tail, which is this Brian Bantry company, this shell company in England. All expenses for the Peggy Segal company are paid for by Wagging Tail. So everything that's going to get paid to Peggy goes to Wagging Tail, and everything that Peggy's going to pay comes from Wagging Tail. Wagging Tail Entertainment pays a commission fee to Peggy. The commission fee is equal to 60% of revenue less expenses. So she gets a 60% cut, and then the manager of her shell company gets 40. Sorry, it's really bright out there. The only exception to this is for invoices issued to HBRK Associates, in which case 100% of revenue is paid to Peggy Segal, Inc. That is a Jeffrey Epstein company that was used to pay out victims. That's one of his money laundering assets. Jeffrey emailed one of his lawyers and accountants. I think Bantry is stealing, the guy that manages Wagging Tail. Do not mention this to Peggy's people. This explanation seems goofy. He takes the revenue, does not tell Peggy what it is, somehow calculates a 60-40 split. How often? What is he talking about? Not a very good friend to your friend Peggy, are you, Jeffrey? Here's one of Peggy Segal's accountants sending Jeffrey, please find attached a list of payments for each quarter made to Peggy Segal, Inc. from Wagging Tail in 2011. Wait, 2011? Yes, that's right. She asked for this fucking audit in 2011 after all financial connections were cut off. And then what follows is a shitload of profit and losses and tax documents. There's a bunch of emails of him paying for her travel expenses. Bunch of wire transfer documents directly from Jeffrey Epstein to Peggy Segal, as well as from Jeffrey Epstein to Wagging Tail, things like $25,000. There's invoices from Peggy's people to Jeffrey Epstein's people, as well as other invoices for their trip to St. Bart's. What were you doing in St. Bart's together? There's HBRK Associates documentation of payments made to Wagging Tail. It goes on and on and on. That Brian Bantry guy that runs Wagging Tail, I'm pretty sure I have a picture of him here somewhere. This guy, that guy, that guy. Well, his company has a dual registration as PR and also as model and talent management. His father was big in the modeling industry. And as far as I'm aware, the FBI, none of the law enforcement ever went to Peggy and said, what the fuck is up with this? Despite having clear evidence that she's lying about the relationship was very significant and she was a connector to a lot of these fucking elites. So journalists, internet, sleuths, look into Peggy Segal, because there is so much smoke there. There is a reason why they blacklisted one of the most prominent and powerful Jewesses out of Hollywood in days of the Jeffrey Epstein story coming out. Not an accident. And Peggy, I hope they lock you up, and I hope the adrenochrome withdrawals fucking suck.